Hello, everyone. I'm Shalika De Silva. On behalf of Samadhi Buddhist Foundation, I would like to welcome all of you to our month of September Clarity of Mind through Mindfulness session. Today, our topic is entanglement. It's quite somewhat interesting topic going to be. With great respect, I would like to invite Most Venerable Panadure Chandarathana Thero to explain what is this entangle means, as well as how we can come out of it according to Buddha's teaching. Theruvan Sarnai Bante.
Yeah, Theruvan Sarnai Shalika, hope you can hear me.
Yes, Bante, we can hear you.
Okay. So most of you are currently in the entanglement, thinking what is this entanglement? So I thought of discussing that as Shalika mentioned, according to Buddha's teaching. So let me share the screen. So actually we can start with a very famous verse, what Buddha mentioned in the Jata Sutta. It's a very interesting verse, which was the theme of the entire Theravada canonical, what is called the Visuddhimagga. That is where the Visuddhimagga starts. Anto jata bahijata jataya jatita paja tantang gotama puchami ko imang vijataye jatan. Now, this is actually asked by a Deva, and they also have understood that all these people, this folk is very much like in an entanglement. So there's a tangle inside and tangle outside. We can think what is the tangle inside, what is the tangle outside. Anyway, this whole generation is entangled in a tangle. So that's what the Deva has seen, how these people are struggling while being struck in this entanglement. And I ask you this, O Gautama, who can disentangle this tangle? So it's a very interesting question asked by one of the Devas from the Buddha. In one sense, we can think, okay, we have outside problems. Okay, if you consider your life, so there are various outside problems. Say you have to pay taxes. Once you are going outside, you have to obey various rules and regulations. And there are other issues, the country issues, climatic issues, wars, struggles, all things are going on. There are problems with the neighbors. So we can consider that all as the outside tangle. And internally also, say you have a lot of family matters, your children's problems, your own health issues. Internally, you have conflicts. So that is also, we can say it's a kind of a tanglement. From outside point of view, we can see, okay, this is the inner tangle and then the outer tangle. But more deeper we can go through. And there, Buddha's teaching is giving a more profound explanation to this tanglement. This tangle, even the internal tangle and the external tangle become more and more subtle in that respect. And we'll see in the future, in the coming slides. So what is this inner tangle and the outer tangle from a more refined point of view, more deeper point of view? Now, answering this question, actually Buddha give some detailed explanation concisely included in this particular verse. Sile patittaya naro sapanyo chittang panyancha bhavaya atapi nipako bhikkhu so imang vijataye jata. Now this is the answer given by the big Buddha, and this is the whole explanation given to this verse is what is based on the Visuddhimagga. Anyway, sile patittaya naro sapanyo. Now here the wise person has to establish in the virtues. That means the sila, the morality. So morality becomes one's foundation. And chittam panyancha bhavya. So he has to develop the chitta and the panya. Now here the chitta is actually the samadhi side or the samatha side. So how you are fairly concentrating your mind, developing a certain amount of calmness, tranquility in the mind. So that is the calming down aspect of the mind. And then the panyang, so that is the vipassana. So the samatha and vipassana is the solution, and that you need to develop, bhavaya, that you need to develop in order to have this, in order to have a freedom from this tangle. And further, Buddha mentioned, Atapi Nipako Bhikkhu. Now, you have further qualities for this whole endeavor. You need Atapi. Now, Atapi means he's ardent. So, the another explanation is that we have to have a kind of an attitude of abandoning defilements as much as possible, and continuously you are having an effort for that. So that there are various defilements ruling the mind, or we can say it's ruining the mind also. And that we have to be aware, and we have to have a constant effort to abandon that. So that is your focus, that is your effort, very much like your objective, abandoning the defilements. So that is an atapi effort, ardent effort, that you are continuously doing it, irrespective of your success or say failure. Still you are trying hard to do that, because sometimes the defilements are so subtle and we can't immediately get out of them. We can't immediately abandon them. Sometimes we get discouraged. How come there be all these defilements in this mind? This long I am practicing, but how come all these are still having a great influence into the mind? So you might get discouraged. Even such situation, without getting discouraged, to maintain the continuity of the practice. So that is where the ardent effort is quite important. So seeing defilements and not getting discouraged, and continuously, say, very much like attacking them, continuously recognizing them. So depending on your practice, using various strategies to overcome them. And so that is a ardent effort. So that is also another point that Buddha highlights. And then Nipako Bhikkhu. So that means he is very careful. His attention is very careful. And he is wise, that this wisdom is very much like a penetrative wisdom. It is not the book knowledge or some sort of a learned type of thing. Rather, it's a penetrative knowledge. So you have your own intuitive knowledge. So that is a very penetrative knowledge. So imang vijataye jata. Now Buddha says, so such person is capable of overcoming this tangle, disentangle this tangle. Now you can see certain aspects Buddha highlights here. One thing is the sila, the morality. So that becomes our foundation on which we are building the apartment or house or building or whatever it is. So the foundation is the sila. And then the samatha and vipassana, the meditation part. So you have to develop samadhi and panya in other terms. So in the two of these sentences, actually we can say sila, samadhi, panya is concisely included. The first one, the sila, the second one, the panya. And on the other hand, naro sapanyo. So that means it's a wise person now undertaking this whole thing. It's not that kind of a fool. So the Buddha's teaching is sometimes explained that it is aimed for wise people. It doesn't mean that the others are entirely neglected, but the wise may understand its availability or the applicability, its benefit more deeply than another person. So this sapanyo means that he's born with wisdom. He's not an ignorant person, but he has some inner wisdom, certain amount of quick understandability. So such kind of a skill he's born with. And then Atapi Nipako Bhikkhu. Again, the Nipaka means that the penetrative knowledge is included. So again, the wisdom is highlighted. And we can see there the wisdom is very much like in a Vipassana point of view, you have a kind of investigative ability. You are always careful. You are attentive. Present moment. You are always in the present moment, establishing the present moment. And such person is actually capable of abandoning this tangle. And further, Buddha highlights in the same sutta, Yesang ragocha dosocha avijjacha virajita khinasava arahanto tesang vijatita jata. Now, those for whom lust and hatred along with ignorance have been expunged, the arahants with taints destroyed, for them the tangle is disentangled. Now, this is the result actually. Now, previously, Buddha explained about the methodology. So, what are the possibilities? What are the arrangements that you need to have, the requisites you need to have, the skills you need to have. Now, as a result of applying all these skills, the result is this, that one becomes an arahant. So he has entirely abandoned raga and dosa, and moha. Yesang ragocha dosocha avijjacha virajita. So avijja basically the moha also. So the ignorance, lust and hatred, so that is very much like abandoned, expunged. Or one's mind is now cleansed from raga and dosa and moha. And kinasava. Now, as a result of that, now his mind is completely free from influxes. Kinasava. All the taints are destroyed. Now one is an arahant, so that means there is no more tangle in him. So his mind is utterly clear, completely freed, completely liberated. So once one becomes completely liberated in that sense, we can say, so he's no more in entanglement. So on the other hand, we are still in entanglement. So we still in a tangle, always getting tangled, entangled. So that's why sometimes we need to understand, am I in a kind of a delusion? Am I in a sort of a bewilderment? Am I in a kind of a confused situation? Am I in a kind of a tangle? So that if we can reflect, step back and reflect to ourselves, is there any kind of a confusion going on in the mind? Is there any kind of a crowded state in the mind? Kind of a tanglement in the mind, kind of a, say, perplexity in the mind. So this is something that we can recognize. So most of the time, somehow the other way, our mind is tangled. Either we are thinking about the past, what has happened, and we are regretting about it, grieving about it, crying about it, or even laughing about it, and we are fully trapped in the past. And the future also similar. Future hasn't come yet, but we are dreaming about it, fantasizing about it, fabricating about it, again get tangled, again get confused, again fully immersed in it. So we are not free. So the mind is not free. So you can see so mind very much like preferring this kind of entanglement. It prefers some sort of a confusion. If there is no confusion, okay, you need to see a teledrama, you need to see a film, and you know to get excited, and you need to somehow lose your freedom. So we feel like the freedom is very much like boring. So keeping the mind relaxed, clear, without any kind of entanglement, so you feel like boring. So you want the mind to get sort of confused in a way. So the kind of a stupid behavior that we as human beings, we are continuing, how we are treating the mind in a way. So we don't, if we don't have the Buddha's teaching, I don't think that we have even a desire to have a kind of a freedom in this mind. Probably we are talking about the freedom from the economic terms, so freedom to think and freedom to read, freedom to talk, and all these things we are talking. But how about internally we have a freed mind, unentangled mind, or disentangled mind? So these are some areas that we can ponder, and how a mind would looks like, or how a state of mind that we can experience, which is completely freed. Now, from the next verse, actually, Buddha comes to a very profound area in this theme. Yatta namancha rupancha asesang uparujjati patighang rupa sanyacha ettesa chijjate jatati. Now he is coming to a very, very refined point, that he is saying where name and form ceases without remainder. Not only that, patighang rupa sanyacha, and the impingement and the perception of form. Now all that has to cease. What are they? Name and form has to cease, and the impingement also has to cease, and the perception of form also has to cease. It is here this tangle is cut. So if you are able to have such kind of a mentality, such kind of a mental state, so that is a place where there is no entanglement. So very much like an oasis. say when you are thinking about a solution, so you are now having kind of a direction to that solution. So that's the direction is given here. Where the name and form, the patigha and the rupa sanya are abandoned. So nama rupa is not there. And the patigha here means that the various impingements. It is not the patigha here, the hatred. Rather here patigha means that the various kinds of impingements, that your sense objects and the senses are continuously in a kind of an interaction. Eye with forms, and the ear with the sounds, nose with the odors, then the tongue with the flavors, body with the tangibles, and the mind with the mind objects. Now they are continuously in a kind of an interaction, impingement. So is it possible to avoid that impingement? It doesn't mean that you have to every time close your eyes, or you have to become deaf, or you have to become dumb. Rather, is there any possibility of maintaining a mind which is not getting entangled, even when you see things, even when you hear things, even when you smell things, even when you are sort of tasting things, even when you are going through a certain amount of a contact, or even when a mind object is like background, it is available, but mind maintain its clarity. Now, this is how we can recognize. So, Buddha approaches the problem in a different way. We may be thinking coming to a particular state or going to a very special place that there is nothing available, no tangle, and something like that. But rather, Buddha's practice, so his teaching, is developing kind of an extraordinary skill in ourselves. Even when we see things, mind is not get entangled. Even when we hear things, mind is not get entangled. Even when we smell things, mind is not get entangled. Even when we taste things, mind is not get entangled. Even when the body is going through certain contact, mind remains intact. And its clarity remain intact. And even though maybe thoughts or mental objects coming and going, mind maintain its clarity. It knows how things are happening, going, passing away, but the clarity is remaining. This is a very interesting area that we can explore. You can imagine what a kind of a mental state, what a kind of a skill that one has to develop in order to have this kind of an extraordinary ability. Now, very interesting area here is the Nama and Rupa. That means the Nama Rupa. So here means the very much like a tanglement. So that is the whole very tricky points here. So we always see the outside confusion. We think that someone else has confused me. A certain incident has confused me, which is always outside incident. But here in this verse, Buddha highlights, so the tanglement has come to very closer to you. So it's very much like your consciousness is entangled in name and form. Probably you have heard about the relationship between consciousness and the name and form. So if you consider Parissamuppada, that formula, very popular one, Vijja Pacca Sankhara, Sankhara Pacca Vijnanam, Vijnana Pacca Namarupa, Namarupa Pacca Salayatanam. So it's going on. So there's a relationship between Vijnana and Namarupa. So Namarupa depends on consciousness, the Vijnana. And on the other hand, according to Mahanidana Sutta and the Nalakalapi Sutta and all the several other suttas, so the consciousness also dependent on the name and form. So they are having a kind of a dualistic type of relationship, interacting each other, interdependent. So name and form depend on consciousness, consciousness depend on name and form. So this is a huge kind of a tanglement. So this is the inner tangle, very refined inner tangle. So always they are in a whirlpool, always in a tanglement. And on the other hand, say, if we consider the external world, say the forms are there, the rupa khanda, sight, sounds, smells, tastes, tangibles, and all that, the physical world. So that is becomes the form. And then we have the mentality, the knowing part, the mental aspect, the cognitive aspects in the mind. There's a kind of a confusion going on, this knowing part and the external objects. That's another tanglement, so we can recognize. So in that sense, the name and form have become one type of a tangle. And on the other hand, the consciousness and name and form becomes the very subtle kind of inner tangle. So we'll probably look further in this area in the coming slides. Now, without actually fully limiting ourselves to Vipassana aspects, now there are certain other areas how Buddha very beautifully, aesthetically representing this entanglement in a different way. Now in the Kaggavisana Sutta, Buddha highlights, Sihova saddesu asanta satto, asanta santo, vatova jalamhi asajjamano. Padumangva toyena alippamano, eko chare Kaggavisana kappu. It's very beautiful. You can see very interesting similes here. Like a lion unalarmed among sounds. Like the wind not caught in a net. Untainted like a lotus by water. One should live alone like a rhinoceros horn. Now this Kaggavisana Sutta is very much like promoting this seclusion, a solitude living. So you are capable of having a solitude. You don't need too much association. You don't need to socialize. So you have your capacity to living alone in a way. That doesn't mean you don't need anyone's support or you are going to get rid of your family. It is not the point. Rather, even while you are in the family environment, you have your own freedom. You have your own stability in your mind. Even others are there, so you are alone. You are secluded. It's not that you feel lonely while being there. So that's a different actually. So sometimes when someone is not there to appreciate, someone is not there to pat you and to praise you and to hug you and all these things, you feel lonely. But here, even though you are alone, you don't feel lonely, but you love to be alone. So that's a way of looking at things. You can see how Dhamma, in a way, changing our perspective. As you are continuing your practice, you start preferring being alone sometimes. It is not that you hate others, but you sometimes need this very profound, very strong kind of a mentality that you want to be alone. And even while being alone, you are happy, you are contented. It's not that you become very dry-hearted, have no space for in your heart to others. It is not like that. Rather, being alone, you become strong and you feel freed. And very interesting simile is highlighted here. You can see that the lion, he being the king of the animals, he never get afraid of the sounds because his roaring is the most, say, dangerous kind of a sound. Other than that, he actually never get afraid of even the elephant's trump. Now, on the other hand, Buddha mentioned, Vatova jalami asajjamana. Now, you can't catch wind through a net. So, net has its holes, and through the holes, wind is blowing through. So, you can't catch wind through a net. And padumangvatoyena alipamana. And if you consider a lotus leaf or lotus, even though water is there, it is not touching it. It's not tainting the lotus. Simply slips through. So through these similes, we can see that you are living in the world like a lion, You are not afraid in a way. All these disturbances are coming and the confusions are possible, but your mind is capable of withstanding them, not being afraid. That is one aspect. On the other hand, even though many traps are available, the others are trying to pull you, seduce you, interrupt you, but you go through. You have penetrative wisdom that you are going through all that aspects. Padumangva toyena alipamano. So you are living in the world, but not tangled, not attached, not confused, but still in the world. So you can see how beautifully Buddha pointing it out in a way very aesthetically. So how an arahant would live in the world, not getting tangled or not getting confused, not having any conflicts, but still maintaining some stability in the mind and not being afraid of anything. And this is one area that we can explore. And on the other hand, this tanglement is sometimes referred to the craving. Now, we previously understood, okay, there are different ways that we can interpret what is the inner tangle and what's the external tangle. And name and form also can become tangle. So that's one area we can, through the Dhamma, we can look at. And on the other hand, certain other areas, this craving also considered as a kind of a net. So to that we get caught. So it's also a type of a tangle. So this Dhammapada verse, Yassa jalini visattika, tanha natti kuhinchi netave, hang buddhang ananta gocharang, apadang kena padena nessata. So there Buddha mentioned, Yassa jalini visattika. Now this visattika, jalini are all terms for tanha, the craving. Now, the meaning here, so the tanha is the one having the net. Now, always this having the net and trying to catch us. So you can imagine like that. So tanha typically is a female term, and that female is with a net, always trying to catch the others. So we get trapped in it. So we get caught. So you can assume that in your mind, say, to which are you being caught with? Who is instructing you? Who is governing you? Who is giving you orders? So typically it is craving. So we are very much like enslaved to craving. So this enslavement happens again and again. So in the morning you become enslaved to certain desires. Maybe after some time again you enslaved to various desires. Many orders are coming from the craving. So you are trying to fulfill them. And after some time, again, you get some more desires. Again, you are trying to fulfill them. So the tanha is very much like your master. So that master has taken you, grabbed you, trapped you, and now it is taking you for an advantage and asking you to do various things. So you are like a slave behaving, agreeing to the orders of craving, orders of the master. So therefore, in that respect, craving is also considered as a net, as a kind of a trap. By the way, now Buddha is the one who has cut through this net, cut through this track. And so since there is no more craving in Buddha's mind, now the Mara or the craving can't embroil him or trap him, entangle him, because there is no craving inside. By what track can you trace that trackless Buddha of limitless range, in whom exists no longer the entangling and embroiling craving that perpetuates becoming? Now, these are very profound verses actually. So they are very, very deep. So we have to connect with our practice in order to appreciate them. Now, typically what happens is, so again and again, as I mentioned, we get trapped in various desires. So they are the ones now controlling us. They are the ones governing us. So we are simply obeying the cravings orders. And accordingly, we can track, okay, where we have worked. So this is the first desire, this is the second, this is the third, this is the fourth, likewise. So throughout the day, I was fulfilling these desires, all these requests, all these orders. So now the traces of the mind is very visible. I can point out what are the areas that I went through where I was very much like engulfed or trapped in the craving. But on the other hand, with the Buddha's mind, not trapped. So that's why it is in the kind of a limitless range, Ananta Gochara. There is no any kind of a boundary in the Buddha's mind. So it's a completely expanded, completely freed. And so how are you going to trap it? How are you going to track it? So since craving is not influencing it, it's maintaining its freedom or clarity. So how are you going to have a kind of points, the tracking points? So as a result of that, so it is mentioned, the Buddha is very much like a trackless. So you can't find out the footpoints or footprints of the Buddha. So where his mind has traces. So this is a very interesting area. The craving also is now we can see considered as a kind of entanglement or a kind of a trap, kind of a net that we getting caught up with. And further, a very interesting another incident is reported in the Dhamma, in the Samyutta Nikaya. At one time, Buddha was actually practicing walking meditation, and now it has become late night. Now, typically, Buddha sleeps for 2 hours, and now he is going to sleep. Now he has continually worked during the day and all that, whatever the say compassionate work that he has involved with. So he has completed. Now it is the midnight. Now he is going to sleep. Now, interestingly, at that moment, Mara appears. Now, this is the Devaputta Mara, the celestial being. King Soppasi, King Nu Soppasi, Kimidang Soppasi, Dubbhago Via. Sunya Garanti Soppasi, Kimidang Soppasi, Suriye Uggateti. Now, he's trying to, tease the Buddha. In a way, kind of make him ashamed because he's sleeping. So his question you can see, what? You sleep? Why do you sleep? What is this? You sleep like a wretch. Thinking the hut is empty, you sleep? What is this? You sleep when the sun has arisen. Now, you can see the Mara is always there to sort of belittle the Buddha, attack the Buddha, finding a kind of a fault in him. Now, he's coming and, since Buddha is sleeping, he's asking, why are you sleeping? It's not suitable to sleep. It's very interesting. And the Buddha's answer represents that he recognizes, okay, this person is the Mara. He simply has trying to tease me. So he's answering, Yasajalini Visattika, Tanha Natti Kohinchi Netave, Sabbupadi Parikhaya Buddho, Swapati King Tavetta Marati. So Yasajalini Visattika. So we are coming back to this previous verse where the craving, the net of craving, is no more lurking the Buddha. So his mind is no more lurked by the craving net. Tanha, natti kuhinchi netave. So this entangling and binding is not possible now. So his mind is never get entangled, never get bound. So if you want to take someone to some place, okay, you bind him, you catch him, you put handcuffs, and then you are taking. Otherwise, he may go away. But here, since there is no craving, you can't catch. So he's simply maintaining the freedom. He's intact. So since there is no craving, it is not possible to lurk him. And with the destruction of all acquisitions, so all the upadis are abandoned. Sabbhupati patini saggo. So that's a synonym for Nibbana, where Buddha mentioned here. So all the acquisitions, all the upadis relinquished. So there is no I making, there is no mind making. So there is no confusion. There is no asmimana. There's conceit, I am. So all that delusions are abandoned. So now, awakened one sleeps. Why should this concern new Mara? Now, Buddha is asking the question from the Mara. So what's the problem with you? So I'm done. I'm fully freed. I have nothing more to do. I'm just sleeping. So very interesting. So a very interesting dialogue here. You can see how Buddha and Mara is having. So Buddha is asking, what's the problem with you? So I'm sleeping. So why bothers to you? What is your concern? So you can mind your own business in other terms. So then actually Mara vanished, understanding that Buddha has recognized him. Now, so this is the one area where the craving is considered as a trap, as a net, as a tangle. And the most interesting and very profound, another verse available in the Dhammapada is this one, where a very subtle tanglement is explained. Kodan jahe vipajahe yamanang samyojanang sabbang atikkameya. Tang nama rupasming asajjamanang akinchanang nanu patanti dukkha. Now here, Buddha mentioned kodan jahe, that you need to abandon anger. Vipajaheya manang, you need to abandon conceit. Samyojanang sabbang atikkameya. Now all the taints, all the fetters, you have to overcome. Tang nama rupasming asajjamana. Further, you are not trembled to name and form. Akinchana. Now you become possessionless. You have nothing, basically. Mind is utterly empty. Nanu patandi dukkha. So on such state, there is no dukkha. Completely freed, no dukkha at all, no suffering at all. Now, this is the essence actually, but very deeper meaning is included here. Now, kodan jahi. So typically when we are harboring kind of a hate, a kind of an anger, we are trapped. So someone has done the mistake. Assume that it is not your fault. Someone has done a mistake, but you are burning. You are maintaining kind of a hate. You are maintaining kind of an anger. So you are unnecessarily harming yourself. So Buddha simply asks, okay, abandon that hate. No point. Abandon that anger. So that is a very easy situation that we can get trapped. Easy situation we can get entangled. Typically someone else's fault or your own fault, you're thinking about it again and again, giving some overemphasis sometimes. And sometimes you consider that you are correct, the other person is wrong. Or the opposite is also possible. And more confusion, more kind of entanglement. And so Buddha say, okay, abandon that hate, anger. Vipajahiya mana. You need to abandon conceit as well. So there is always kind of an ongoing comparison. I am here, you are there. I am better, you are bad. Oh, I am good, you are not yet. So I am bad, you are good. So always we are comparing ourselves with another person. So this comparison is a kind of an ongoing thing. So that creates a person that you are very limited, a self, and then the outside is non-self. It is not you. So you and not you, or self and not self, outside of the self. So this is how we are building up this entanglement. So we are building this confusion. How gradually we are building this confusion. So there is I here. So there is not I in the outside. So all of you, all the outside world is not I. I'm only here. So you now have something to conflict with. So I is always in conflict with not I. Internal is always conflict with the external. So now the conflicting situation. entanglement. So Buddha say, therefore, so the abandoned conceit. Tang nama rupasmin asajjamana. Now that is, we actually discuss in the Jata Sutta also, where Buddha mentioned how that the name and form has to be abandoned without remainder. Assume that you are a person who is using spectacles. I am also now using spectacles. Now assume that there's a stain in my spectacle. Sometimes I might think, okay, there's something available outside. Because typically through the spectacles we are seeing. But if I didn't notice there's a stain in my spectacle, this glass, probably I might think, okay, there is something outside. I didn't recognize it is in the spectacle, in the glass. I didn't recognize that. I forgot that. I didn't notice that. Rather, I always see, okay, there is something outside available. So always we have a problem with the outside. But unfortunately, the problem is here in the glass, there's a stain. So the name and form is very much like that. So it's continuously, name and form is entangled with the consciousness. But unfortunately, we project that tanglement into the outside. So there is a kind of a stain, there's a kind of a sanya, a kind of a thought, kind of a feeling, a kind of a perception, which is internal. But immediately I attribute it to someone external, something external. We forget to see the immediacy. We forget to see the very close inner trap. We forget to see, or we miss to see very close inner stain available in the consciousness. That is the name and form. Now, unfortunately, I am get caught to this name and form. I consider name and form as the reality. In other words, actually, Buddha highlights this in the Dvaitanupassana Sutta of Sutta Nipata. Anattani attaman, passalokang sadevakang, nivittang namarupasmin idang satchanti manyati. So they perceive self where there is no self. And they consider it as true, which is the name and form, which is utterly kind of a fallacy, kind of a fallacy. But they consider it as a truth. They take it as a reality. So this name and form is a fallacy. But we consider it as something important, something very true. And it is what represented outside. So we always attribute it to outside. Maybe someone, maybe something. So we immediately create someone or we immediately create something. But here Buddha mentioned, Tang namarupasmin asajjamanam. So you come to a very, very refined understanding, very penetrative knowledge, very sharp understanding that rather than going outside, you immediately, very closely, you recognize the stain in you, stain in the consciousness. The name and form you recognize, and you simply slip it away. You simply erase it. You simply remove it. Again, you can see through. Very much like, say, you understood, okay, it is not something outside, but it's a stain in the glass. It is in the glass, the spectacle glass, that there's a stain. So you take it out, you wipe it, you clean it, again you wear it, now you see through. Something like that. So you can practice it and see. Say you have a stain in your glass and you wear it, okay, you feel like, okay, there is something wrong in the outside. Everywhere I see, something is there. But the moment that you understand, okay, it is not something outside, rather it is a dot, it is a dust particle, it's a stain in the glass. So you wipe it out, erase it, clean it. Again, you wear it, you see through. So the mind has the clarity. So now the program is named as the inner clarity, the mental clarity, through mindfulness, through the vipassana. So time to time, we may be able to achieve this clarity in the mind. So nothing is there basically. All the stains are abandoned. All the stains are erased. So you are maintaining a complete purity in the mind. So that pure mind, very clear mind, cleansed mind, or unconfused, unentangled, or disentangled mind. There is no confusion. The clarity is available. So you can see how Buddha is giving us certain indications to achieve that, time to time to enjoy that, to have that, and to maintain that, and how this tanglement can happen, and what are the possibilities. And this is very interesting area for us to explore. And since we were discussing Karma for many months, I thought of taking back to the Vipassana track. So these are very interesting areas that we can have for our pondering. And on the other hand, Akinchanam indicates that the Raga, Dosa, and Moha are abandoned. So typically Raga is considered as a Kinchana, something. Dosa considered as something. Moha considered as something. So when Raga, Dosa, Moha completely abandoned, nothing is there. So it doesn't make anything now. So basically nothing is there indicates that possessionless. It is not that you become a kind of a beggar kind of thing. Rather, the mind is empty. Mind has its clarity. So all the kinchanas abandoned. Raga, dosa, moha abandoned. Lust, hatred, delusion abandoned. So mind has its independence, freedom, clarity. So on such situation, there is no dukkha. So mind is in a complete freed state, no suffering at all, no stress at all, no tension at all. Mind is in a very interesting balance, equipoise, and that is something that we can look forward. And the Buddha's teaching is taking us there. At least time to time, if we can enjoy that, then we are tasting the freedom. So with that point, I like to conclude today's, say, Dhamma sermon. Now we can start our practice. Okay, so if you have any question, you can note it down so that we can raise them after the practice session. May you now sit in a comfortable position. Now you can gently close your eyes. Keep your head straight, neck straight, shoulders in a relaxed position, and upper half of the body also relaxed and straight. Calm down yourself. Now see whether you are able to bring your attention to the body. So your eyes are gently closed. Are you able to recognize maybe a subtle sensation at your eyes? Your lips are gently touching. Very soft sensation there. Jaws are not tightly coupled. Keep them relaxed. Tongue is not thrust in the gums. Keep it on the middle, at the root. And there is no tension in the face. Any facial muscles or facial tissues are not tensed. If there is any stress or tension, just release them. Don't think any kind of a problem. So just abandon or forget for the moment. And keep a very relaxed mood, a happy mood. Now we are trying to enjoy the present moment. Have some privacy. Have some time for yourself. Enjoy in the present moment. Opening up. Head straight, neck straight, shoulders in a relaxed position. Arms may be resting on your lap. And again, there is no tension in the muscles of the arms. And here and there, clothes are touching the body. Try to recognize some places in your body, how you can recognize clothes are touching. Sometimes it is tight, sometimes it is soft, kind of a rubbing sensation, maybe a little bit of heaviness, touch sensation. Here and there, clothes are touching the body. Try to recognize that. Bring your attention back to the body. If mind wanders, don't encourage it. Once you know that, slowly bring your attention back to the body. So there are various sensations in the body. It may be little pains, maybe itchiness, maybe vibrations. Doesn't matter, but they are happening right now. Knowing them indicates that you are completely present. Mind is not distracted. You are with yourself. Now, if we go little inside, probably you can recognize the heart vibration or the rising and falling of the abdomen. See whether you can be with the rising and falling for some time. As we breathing in, rising happens. As we breathe out, falling happens. Carefully recognize each rising. Carefully recognize each falling. If we go further down, you can recognize how buttocks are touching the cushion or the chair. There may be some pressure or some weightness or tightness at your buttocks. And legs are bent, legs muscles are relaxed. Recognize this sitting posture. I am comfortably sitting. So you are recognizing this sitting posture. Very balanced, comfortable, sitting posture. You know that you are sitting, you are well grounded, you are in the present moment. Not daydreaming, not fantasizing, not regretting. Rather, you are in the present moment, knowing that the body is sitting. Very simple, very direct. Come to that directness. No imagination, no thinking. Just knowing the present moment, knowing the present experience directly. If we move up, so you can see that your legs are bent, legs muscles are relaxed, calf muscles are relaxed, thigh muscles are relaxed. And then your buttocks touching the cushion. There's a pressure there. Rising and falling of the abdomen. Arms are resting. There is no tension at your muscles of the arms. Maybe heart vibration. And clothes are touching the body. Shoulders are relaxed. Neck straight. Head straight. Eyes gently closed. Lips gently touching. No tension in the face. With a smile. Happy, joyful, recognizing each moment. Now we can keep our attention at the nostril, softly recognizing the in-breath, recognizing the out-breath, allowing the body to breathe naturally. We simply recognize in-breath, simply recognize out-breath while standing at the nostril, staying at the nostril. Allow the body to breathe naturally. If your mind still wanders, you can note it, in-breath, out-breath. As it happens, you need to note it. You need to know it and then note it. In and then out. If you are able to well establish mindfulness, then you can closely look at the characteristics of breathing. Some refined characteristics, subtle characteristics of the breath. You can try to recognize. Once you are confident, fair amount of mindfulness is available. So you are seeing whether the breath is long or short, gross or soft, where it is touching, from where it is going in, from where it is going out, warm or cool, very subtle aspects of breathing. We are now trying to recognize. We're going to have that penetrative wisdom, the knowing capacity, the investigative quality of the mind, investigating these subtle aspects. Once everything is fine, you can switch to your typical meditation. It may be Anapanasati, it may be rising and falling, or elements meditation, or Vedananupassana, Chittanupassana. So whatever, once you are confident, you can switch to that. Okay, I think we have spent little more than 1 hour. So if you have any question related to the Dhamma sermon, or if your own practice, so you can raise hand and then we can spend some time in a question and answer session.
Bhante, this is actually a request. Is it because there may be some participants not much familiar with this mentality and materiality? Can you elaborate it more?
Now, actually, there are two levels that we need to understand. Now, typically, Buddha discuss about the 5 aggregates: the form aggregate, the feelings aggregate, the perceptions aggregate, formations aggregate, and the consciousness aggregate. And among these aggregate, one aggregate is more physical. The other 4 aggregates are more mental. So the first aggregate, the Rupa Khanda, the form aggregate, is more physical. And it is very much about the body, the external bodies, external objects. All the physical phenomena are considered within this form aggregate. And all the feelings, all the perceptions, all the mental formations, and various kinds of sense consciousness. Now, through the eyes, we recognize the form. Through the ears, we can cognize the sounds. Through the nose, we can cognize the smells. Through the tongue, we can cognize the taste. To the body, we can cognize the tangibles. So this cognition part is coming under the consciousness aggregate. Now that all those 4 are more into the non-physical, or we can say more into the psychological part, more into the mental part. So that is the 4 aggregates. So that those 5 aggregates, we need to have some sort of an understanding. And that is where, so we so-called me, myself, you, yourself, all are coming under these 5 aggregates. But to these 5 aggregates, we have given names. We have attributed a name, a label, and so then we call, this is my, this is me, this is myself, this is I am, and this is you, this is yourself. So likewise, we come up with a lot of labels, a lot of languages, sentences, grammar, etc., etc. Now that is some understanding we need to have. And on the other hand, name and form is more subtle. Actually, if you consider, if I tell you a kind of a simile, now say for example, you are in a theater, and in the theater, assume that there is a projector behind you, projecting a kind of a telescopic or rather kind of cinemascopic image onto the screen. Assume that it is completely dark. So very much like you can't see anything, but immediately now from the projector, there is an image projected on the screen. So immediately you recognize, oh, this is a really beautiful flower in it. Now it is a flower for you, isn't it? It's a flower. Now, if we consider the mechanism there, so how this flower is created, so basically there should be a very clean white screen. Onto this very clean white screen, there is a light beam now projected through the projector. So we forget all that mechanism, all that technical stuff, all that technologies, but we being attracted to that beautiful flower. That beautiful flower is a made one, it's a created one, fabricated one, but unfortunately we get trapped in it. So it is so beautiful. So I want that flower, I want to have that flower, or it may have a fragrance also. Okay, I want to buy that flower. So many things. So you want to give that flower to my fiancé, or whatever the things that you can think of. So now you go through that flower. I have taken a very simple example. You can imagine various sort of exciting examples. And all these things are possible. Okay, there's an alien. Okay, now you are afraid of the alien. Okay, they are going to attack the planet Earth. Now you need to save the world. That is, someone is now going to save the world. Now you are in a really imaginary world. So all that is possible. Now that is the very much the function. So we get trapped in this beautiful image. So that the image is very, very beautiful, very fantastic and wonderful. And we get trapped, but we forget now all that is being projected onto a screen. So that screen has the reflective capacity. This white screen has the reflective capacity, and the projector has the projecting capacity, the lighting capacity onto the projector. So these two are interacting. These two are interdependent. So without the projector, without that light beam, the function of the screen is not visible. If the screen is not visible, if screen is not there, so there is nothing to hold or nothing to reflect that image. So the screen is also vital. So therefore, this projector and the screen are two essential components. This light beam and the screen is completely essential, and they are interdependent. So similarly, our mind also has this same capacity. So our consciousness has this reflective capacity. And the name and form is the image which is projected onto the consciousness, but without recognizing these subtle aspects, technical aspects, mechanism, what's really going on, that projected image becomes our object of our attention. And we immediately recognize, there's a flower, there is my mother, there's my father, there's my daughter, there's my child. Okay, there is the president, there is the vice president, there is the, say, Russia, this is the Ukraine, this and that, all these things are there. So that image, we forget, okay, it's an image, it's a projection. We miss to recognize. So this tang nama rupasming asajjamanang literally means, so rather than attributing everything to outside flower, outside alien, outside imagination or worship, or say beautiful girl, a woman, a man, whatever it is, you see, oh, this is an image. This is a projection. I am in a cinema hall, I am in a theater. This is a light beam. So this is a projector. Okay, this is an image, this is a sanya, this is a perception, this is a mark, this is a kind of a thought. So likewise, you come to yourself. It's a kind of a very quick introspection you do immediately. Rather than you being trapped, you come back to yourself, step back and see, oh, immediately, this is what's going on. How my mind get crowded again? What are the stains in the mind? What are the perceptions in the mind? What are the marks, signs in the mind? So you come back to yourself. So this immediacy. So rather than going out, so you come back to you and see what is in the stain, what is in your spectacle. So that's why I mentioned, say, once you are wearing a spectacle, so if there is a dust particle, so you can think, okay, it is something outside, but it is a dust particle in your spectacle, in the glass. So similarly, there is a dust particle in the consciousness, but we attribute that to someone, something outside. So this is a very interesting phenomena we can recognize. So this, the interrelationship between consciousness and name and form, vijnana and nama rupa. So if we are able to see through that, everything collapses. Basically, you are coming to a kind of penetrative wisdom. So there, Buddha mentioned no tanglement. So you have nothing to get tangled. So you have seen through, you have penetrated. So while you are at the theater, the moment you understand, okay, this is a imagination, this is a fabrication, this is a picture, this is a reflection. There is no waterfall here, there is no volcano here, or there is no alien here. This is just an imagination. This is coming from the projector. And on the other hand, you can come to another interesting phenomena. How about immediately, suddenly, you opening all the windows and the doors of the theater. So then all of a sudden, a huge amount of sun rays are coming to the, to the screen, so that projected image washed out. It is erased. It's now you can see the reality. Oh, this is a screen. So I was in an imagined world. Aliens are not attacking. I am on the theater. I don't need to worry. You don't need to excite. Still, the alien ship didn't come. So you are still in the on the chair. So there is someone outside, someone next to you. Okay, you are on the theater. You are in a dream. You were in an imagined world. So typically we are in an imagined world, and now we come back to our senses. So the moment that we are able to understand that, no more we are entangled. So that is the very, very interesting moment, how we sometimes free from the entanglement. So we are able to see through, nothing is there basically. There is no you, there is no I, there is no other person, completely empty. You see the complete clarity, simplicity. But in that simplicity, there's a profound wisdom operating at that moment, which is preventing you from getting entangled with anything, any external thing. So you see through the whole thing.
Yes. Very good explanation, Bhante.
Yeah. I think Geshan has a question. Yes.
Guru and Saranai Bhante, I really enjoyed the talk today, and with the similes that you have elaborated.
Right.
The more I start listening to it, what I felt, for there are two aspect that I see for us, how to get to this destination that Buddha talked about, because we are as laymen and in the home making with the families, and so it's one of the things that I understood. When certain type of desires comes, of course, that thinking I want to buy this, it will help to enrich, or is it for us to sort of be restrained? What is the value that I bring in order to think in that kind of context, and to
Correct.
see the use that I am bringing in, rather than, so I kind of felt that we need to discipline more rather than just, because I have it, I can spend it, or because I have certain things, I can do it. But to get to the path and to get to the destination, what Buddha talked about, to free from all these material aspects as well, I think he's talking about more on the discipline side, and to restrain, and to sort of, when thoughts arises as such, that the desire, and how to sort of tame that desire as well.
Correct.
Am I thinking the correct way in that context? Thank you.
Yeah. So actually, there are few areas. So the restraint is one aspect. So of course you can restrain yourself. So you can maintain certain amount of mindfulness once you see things. So immediately you become, rather than you become anxious or jump to conclusions, emotional, like that. So you have little bit of breaks. So you are able to apply breaks. Okay, look, what's going on? How my mind has reacted. As you said, is it really necessary? Am I in the need of that? So like that, you have a kind of a reflective ability without immediately jump to conclusions, so react to something. So you have this monitoring kind of a capability within yourself. So that is the help of the mindfulness. So this mindfulness, as we develop, actually inculcate kind of a capacity within us, where kind of a self-monitoring process is now going on. Always it looks after ourselves. What's really going on? What's really going on? So like that, it's kind of a reflective quality. It's noting yourself or noticing yourself, monitoring yourself, observing yourself, what's really going on. So that is one thing. That is, we can say, the sati samvara. On the other hand, as you said, so you can have a kind of a logical reflection also. So is it really necessary? So am I going to simply buy that, or am I simply wasting my time, wasting my money? Is it really urgent, really essential, or am I being carried away by a certain previous advertisement? I have seen an advertisement, so in that advertisement it is advertised, okay, this is a very good product, this and that. So am I being conditioned by that advertisement? As a result of that, my mind is now operating like this. So that's another way that we can look at it. On the other hand, from the Vipassana point of view, you can see another very interesting area. So how this desire has happened? What is the previous occasion? Is there any kind of delight available in the mind? So after I immediately see that, is there any sort of a delight arisen in the mind? Kind of a happiness, kind of a pleasurable feeling arisen in the mind. So now I want to fulfill this pleasurable feeling. I want to have that pleasurable feeling further, maintain this pleasurable feeling further. I want to have that, experience that pleasurable feeling again and again, so that I want to possess this. So the Vedana Paccaya Tanha, so that pleasurable feeling has conditioned the mind, developed the mind to a level, okay, I want it, I desire it, I like it, I want it. So likewise, you can see, so if we are using that wisely, probably we can develop certain amount of insight also. So how the desire has come to the mind, maybe just because of a very beautiful present mentality. Because I have seen it, kind of immediately there's a very pleasurable, delightful mental state has happened. Now it is asking the desire, or it is promoting the desire. So this Vedana Paccaya Tanha also some area that you can explore. So these are the areas I feel that we can think of. And as you correctly mentioned, it is not always that things are really necessary. But we being conditioned, we being influenced by many other things. So that's why we are always trying to buy things. And unnecessarily we are, spending sometimes money, not being able to satisfy ourselves with little things. So if we consider it at our home, at any other place, are these things all essential things, or are we simply spending unnecessary money or unnecessary time, or we are filling our mind with many things? So this is something that we can reflect. So these are many areas I feel quite relevant.
Very good. Thank you so much, Bande. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Bante, we have a question.
Yes.
Is mindfulness is vigilance and diligence? Is Vidarshana is similar to penetrative wisdom?
Actually, both are very similar. So this mindfulness, mere sati, simply has the quality of being at the present in very, very soft terms. But we are connecting clear comprehension into the picture, then only the sati sampajanya becomes a, like a duet going hand in hand. So both are necessary. So we generally tell it is mindfulness practice, but mindfulness is not alone. It is working, operating. Once we develop through mindfulness, it is inviting many other very interesting qualities like effort, like clear comprehension, continuous effort, and sometimes you need saddha, the faith, and again the penetrative wisdom. The comprehension actually leads to the penetrative wisdom. So altogether, we are talking, that's why sometimes Buddha summarize like we are developing 5 faculties, we are developing 7 enlightenment factors, or we are developing a Noble Eightfold Path, or in ultimate sense, we are developing 37 Bodhipakkhiya Dhammas. So these are the essential kind of skills that we are developing in oneself. So these are certain skills or qualities that we are developing. So altogether, we can say mindfulness, wisdom, everything is included, not just one thing.
Thank you.
Yeah. If there is no any other question, then we can wind up the session.
Yes, Bhante. Thank you so much. And it's a very quite interesting topic.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bhante. Thero Sarnai.
Yeah, Thero Sarnai.